Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I got a bunch of things to get to. Trump, big stuff about Trump and Alec Baldwin. I'm going to cover that towards the end, but let's just start here. Will and Jada Pinkett Smith seen together for the first time since Oscar's slap. You haven't been out in public this whole time. It's been like six months, and there's been a lot of stuff that's happened since the slap, right? Maybe even longer than 6 months. But whatever. She's got her hands on his belt. Near lead, Cameron Smith penalized a day after playing the ball from the wrong place. What do you mean penalized a day? 2-stroke penalty for playing the ball at the wrong place. That's just a great picture. Kim Kardashian hits the gym in nude bikini and thigh-high boots. Did she do any working out, or was this just another photo op? Notice how like they bring a camera everywhere they go, right? And I assume they have a gym in their house, or she does, because, they're billionaires, multimillionaires. Talk about sweating in style. Over the weekend, Kim Kardashian hit the gym in a teeny nude bikini top and side top with swimwear line, accessorizing with thigh-high stiletto boots by Yeezy. I do my own heavy lifting, she captioned, in a series of sexy, sweaty snaps in which she appeared makeup-free, except for lipstick and whatever else is going on there. But, like everything else, it's just fake, right? They bring a camera crew. You don't wear that to working out. And I guess Kanye designed these boots. Biden's $20 million South Carolina retreat plagued by mold, termites, report says. The sprawling $20 million mansion on Kiowa Island in South Carolina, where President Biden and his family are currently staying free of charge, has been plagued for years by a laundry list of problems, including mold, mildew, termites, cracks, according to a new report. Do they own it? Why does it say they're staying there free of charge? The Post reported last week that the Bidens, including disgraced first son Hunter, are spending their summer vacationing at the beachfront property owned by a big-time Democratic donor, Maria Alwyn, the widow of hedge fund founder James Alwyn. Is that their real name? They stayed here before, and they're not paying, a source said. They've never paid. They're just friends. So there's that. All right, in terms of this, FBI report confirms Alec Baldwin pulled the trigger in fatal Rust set shooting. You see here, I'll refresh this. He's got this thing about some opera singer named Fatma, I don't know. And he says, I could have danced all night, my fair lady. This is what we need more of this world. Fatma Saeed. He could have danced all night, my fair lady. This is what he's posting when it's now been confirmed that he lied and is a liar, right? See, the thing about it is that he pulled the trigger in which a gun fired and shot somebody. And that shows you how bizarre Hollywood is, because it's the only place and the only situation where you could fire a gun and shoot somebody and somehow claim it isn't your fault, right? Like if you pull the trigger and the gun fires, I guess Dick Cheney was the other person who shot his friend in the face when they were hunting, and the guy apologized to him. I guess those are the two situations. But if you pull the trigger, you are at least partially responsible for shooting somebody. It's something everyone whoever handles a gun has to be aware of, that the bullet's going to end up somewhere. And in this case, it ended up in his coworker. So there's some idea that there were live rounds brought on set and not by Alec or whoever brought them, created the situation, or the armorer, who has been, I guess, praised in various ways of doing a good job, was to blame. But, she wasn't the one that handed him the gun. Somebody said it was a cold gun and handed it to Alec, and he just assumed that the gun was, safe, didn't check it himself. There are celebrities who've come out and said, you always got to check it yourself. You should. And then the armorer said yesterday, or when I was watching her being interrogated by the police, and people commented, why was it videotaped and why did they leak it? So that's interesting as well. All of it, right? But she said that there was no reason to pull the hammer back. Like, she didn't think the gun was even going to be fired because they weren't even shooting. I mean, they were shooting when he was shooting. He was shooting when he was shooting. Alec's classic, memes that always play. But he, they weren't filming. And so there was some idea that Alec wouldn't be even pulling the trigger, and he did pull the trigger. And so he lied about that, said that he didn't pull the trigger, but now it's been confirmed that there's no way the gun would have went off just from pulling the hammer back and letting it go. And so with all of that, right, with all of these factors involved, and the fact that he was also a producer and he hired and was, had influence over all the people that were on set, which is, again, the boss always has to take some responsibility. And he was the guy who pulled the trigger, right? Let's not forget that. With the line and the interview, I mean, the horrible interview. Like, that interview now has to come into question because there's no reason for him to do it. There was no reason for him to go out and do an interview. And the interview was a disaster at the time, and now he's paying for it. There's some some lawyer that makes YouTube videos that was saying he just deposed himself. It's like questions that a lawyer would ask him in a deposition. He just did them the work for them, right? He's incriminated himself. He's offering too much information about a possible crime, or at least a lawsuit, which is going to happen from the husband of the dead cinematographer. And like, he's just such a dope, and now he should just disappear from social media, right? He's not going away, and the fact that he lied now in an interview, that's just whatever damage control he was trying to do. It didn't work. He came off as insensitive. He was fake crying, very selfish, blamed the victim, right? Like, all of it. But it's the bizarre nature of Hollywood where somebody could pull the trigger and still try to make a reasonable argument that they're not responsible for the fact that a bullet came out after he pulled the trigger in a gun and killed one of his coworkers. And I think he's going to probably not do any jail time or any criminal charges, but certainly he's been canceled. And just the stupidity of him and his wife and posting after, they both had their big scandals, right? And they just keep on, feeding the flames by being stupid on social media. Terrible things are going to happen, U.S. after sneak attack FBI raid. The country is in a very dangerous position, Trump told Fox News Digital, his first interview since the August search. There is tremendous anger like I've never seen before over all the scams. Let's see if I can watch it. We can see if I find this here. Anyways, I couldn't find the interview. They haven't posted it yet. Trump doubles down on vicious FBI attacks over Mar-a-Lago's speech. Or search, right? I don't know why I said speech, dyslexia. Speech if you're dyslexic, search if you're actually reading it. And this is the same article. But they covered it a little bit differently, even worse here on Huffington Post. And so I guess this was a tweet he left. The FBI has a long and unrelenting history of being corrupt. Just look back to the days of J. Edgar Hoover. In the modern era, nothing has changed except that it's gotten far worse. Comey, McCabe, Strokes, and lover Lisa Page. Check out the brilliantly written but damning IG reports. See what they were willing to do in order to get crooked Hillary elected and got caught. They spied on my campaign, pushed the fake dossier, and illegally used the FISA court. So this is a great day for Trump. And one of my viewers sent me this. Donald Trump gets 10-point bump over Florida Governor Ron DeSantis among GOP primary voters after Mar-a-Lago FBI raid which he brands an abuse of law enforcement and sneak attack on democracy. So Ron DeSantis is bummed because all he could do is back Trump. You know, they don't want to run against DeSantis because the Trump factor at least will turn out votes. The Democrats want Trump because if Trump gets elected, then they can try to run more of their stuff through Trump and the Trump hatred and, all of it. I mean, it's going to be a mess. I mean, I like messes. I don't know, how I feel about Trump a second time around. I don't feel as good as the first time because, Trump kind of played himself at the end and his followers. But you know what? It's just, let's see how it all plays out. But they definitely, he has the advantage over DeSantis already. And this is the kind of thing that will, help Trump because the Democrats want Trump. They can't live without Trump. Trump is the center of the Democrats and the liberals' universe. So I want to get to Trump and Melania. They do this great interview in a second here. But first, let's show you the Chuck Schumer clip, and I just want to make a commentary about this.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
Back at you.
Back at you.
Back at you.
So even before he was sworn in, after he won the election against Hillary, he started to talk badly about the intelligence community. That's what Chuck Schumer and Rachel Maddow were reacting to in that meme. And greasy Chuck Schumer is delighted because he says, like someone who's been in Washington, D.C., that they have 6 ways to Sunday to get back at you. And think about that. This is an intelligence community, CIA, the NSA, and the FBI, that they would be getting back at politicians who criticize them, right? That these people who have all this shadow power, they have all this, legal authority to operate in the shadows and spy and do dirty tricks and do things that are bad, do things that are underhanded, subversive, undercover, right? Covert, do things that Americans would be pretty upset if they knew they were doing them. And then they will turn on you, get vindictive if you cross them as a politician or I guess anybody else, right? And Chuck Schumer is saying that, like as somebody who would know, and he's gleefully saying it because he realizes that they're going to go after Trump. And so, yeah, sure, it could all be acting, and that's a possibility, but Trump generally went after the intelligence community because he thought they were going after him, right? He even said that in that tweet, wherever he's posting his tweets now, he's still not on Twitter, But Trump is, again, somebody who just attacks organizations. But in this case, he realized right off the bat that they were trying to screw him. And we know they screwed him all along and then throughout the re-election process. And now whatever's happened here, he's being treated differently than any other past president in history. It's very unclear that there's any legitimacy to them raiding his home. And it's ultimately going to help him, right? So the FBI is, the only reason for this to happen. See, whenever I see a news story, I don't care if it's fake or if it's real. I don't care if it's manipulated or exaggerated. I mean, there's no way for me to get to the bottom of that. People go down rabbit holes trying to find out the legitimacy of the story. What I look at is, what is the agenda that's going to be pushed after the story? Because that's what's going to affect me and you and the rest of us. The agenda that they're pushing. If a story breaks and it's a controversial subject, there's going to be some sort of fallout, a reaction, right? So you have the problem, you have the reaction, and then you have the solution. And so the solution is what we should all be concerned about, because the solution affects us. What agenda are they going to push? What are they going to take away from you because of this story? What are they going to, tax you on? How is your money going to be spent because of some big event that just happened? Who are we going to declare war on? Or, what's going to happen? What are we going to declare war on? So whenever there's a story, especially a big story like this one, what's the outcome of the story? The story itself doesn't mean anything. The story is a reason to act. And the action is going to be something that's going to affect the rest of us, right? So the FBI raid, right? Is it real? Is it fake? Is it, whatever? Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. You can, yeah, all right, speculate, whatever. You're never going to figure that out. What went on to make it happen? But we can say at least it was political, because they know, if I know, they know that when they raided Trump's house, he was going to get a huge bump. It was going to disempower DeSantis, which means they're handpicking Trump to be the candidate they want to run against, because the intelligence community is, in bed with, the FBI is in bed with the Democratic Party. And we've seen that now for a while. And it wasn't always the case. It used to be the Republicans. But we know that the FBI and the other intelligence communities, the CIA and the NSA, they are very politicized, right? This makes them political. Instead of doing their dirty tricks on foreign governments and protecting the American people, they run psychological operations, and they do things like this, like the Trump Mar-a-Lago search, that is going to affect the political landscape. It means DeSantis is done, and Trump is, going to use this. I mean, again, it's a couple years away, but these kind of things are going to help Trump all along. They're going to keep him relevant. It keeps him going, and we'll see how it plays out in the next couple of years. But the intelligence community actions, if they're politicized, which they are, then that's just completely effed up, right? You can't have these spies, these agencies are supposed to be about law enforcement, affecting the political landscaping, picking winners and losers, deciding who the president's going to be, and choosing, the party that they want to endorse. And the media and the Democratic Party, I mean, even Fox was, very weak support of Trump during the election, like they're all about him now. But Fox, bailed on him. And MSNBC and CNN, all they talk about is how Trump and his people are attacking the FBI and criticizing them, and how we should all be so grateful for law enforcement, right? Which is the exact opposite of what they were saying when the presidential campaign was running and the BLM stuff was happening, right? The media has reversed their position. But if this was anybody else, they certainly would be critical of the FBI. And if it was Joe Biden or even Hunter Biden, their tone would be completely different. And you can see that there is, coming together of political parties, in this case the Democrats and the media and the intelligence community. And they're all working together for an outcome. And it looks like the outcome right now is that they want Trump to either run for president or become the next president so they can run more of their agenda through. And so it discredits all of them, right? Because this thing is like, kind of a sham from the beginning. And it's not what happened. It's the outcome. It's the results. It's problem, reaction, solution. And this is the solution right now, is that they're going to, create this war between Trump and the FBI and all of it, try to milk that for everything it's worth. And they're, helping Trump all along the way. And there's no doubt about it. Like, as soon as it happened, I'm like, oh, wow, this is good for Trump. And that must be the reason, right? Whatever the event is, whatever the problem is, the problem's there to create a reaction, which is the Republican people are all up in arms and backing Trump and, validating their narrative and helping to, create more division. And that's the, the big takeaway from this thing. All right, let's get to this interview here. So YouTube recommended this to me, and I'm glad they did.
Mrs. Trump, Melania Trump, the international cover girl, has now joined us.
International cover girl.
We got to discuss the media. How did you two meet?
We met in New York, 1998. It was a fashion week, September 1998.
The famous
It was Fashion Week.
Fashion Week.
The famous fashion week.
We-
The famous Fashion Week.
You
York.
introduced?
Well, no, we were both at the same party, and
They were a party. She was at the party with Trump.
that's how we met. He came
Like her
to
right
me.
away?
I went crazy. I said, I was actually
He went crazy. That's Eldon.
supposed to meet somebody else. And there was this great supermodel sitting next to Melania. I was supposed to meet the supermodel, and they were saying, "Look, there's so and so." I said, "Forget about her. Who's the one on the left?" And
It was Melania.
it was Melania.
You like
It was Melania. He ditched the one on the right. Who was that supermodel who can't hold a candle to Melania? Melania.
him right away?
It was a great chemistry and energy.
By that you mean your Johnson? Does that mean your Johnson was? It's been a weird day.
We had, great time. We started to talk, and, it was
He gave a little wink. He gave a little wink. We start to talk. We gave a little wink.
some
Hey, watch. We'll see it again.
chemistry and energy. We had, great time. We started to talk, and,
Boom.
it was
What was that? Hey, Larry. When she says talk,
something was there right away.
And it was a
was it your Johnson?
long engagement.
It was.
Why?
Well, we just had a great time, and we didn't worry about it, and, just live lives. And then one day, surprise.
How did the proposal take place?
Well, we were together.
to us.
We were together 5 years. We literally have never had an argument, or forget about the word fight. We never even had an argument.
You guys just get along great, especially when she found out that you were banging porn stars.
Just are very compatible. We get along. And I just said, you know what, it's time. And it wasn't a big deal. It was almost
That's the
like
way
it
you
was
did
obvious.
it? You know what? It's time.
No, I did it a little better than that, without going into too much detail. But it was time, and we just have a very good relationship.
And Melania, by the way, is on the latest cover of Weddings from InStyle magazine.
Kablowie. Look, the cover of. Okay, so this is Trump's episode 1, season 1, when they get to see his penthouse.
This kind of reminds me of my house.
Oh my god. Yeah. This reminds me of like
I feel like I'm at home. Wait a minute.
Look at this door. You've got
Look at this.
So then they meet Melania in the penthouse.
Hi, I'm Melania. Nice to meet you. How are you?
So who was the third and
we all were.
The women. Wow, that's great. Of course.
Yeah.
How do you clean a house like this? Well, you have people to clean.
I don't think she's doing it.
You're very, very lucky.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And he's not lucky.
Oh no,
He's very lucky.
And he's not lucky. It's one of the things that's always stuck in my mind about this show, The Apprentice, when someone says to her, "You're so lucky," and she said, "He's not lucky." And then YouTube recommended this as well.
Gentle, Donald. Slowly. Okay. That's good.
How much you want for your pot?
Breaking news: Trump trying to buy pot. FBI should raid his house.
500. 600.
Introducing Cozone.com, the place to find computer help.
I guess Donald Trump is not very good at pottery either. Then YouTube recommended this. It's apparently a tattoo show, and these are tattoo artists. And this guy apparently gave someone a bad tattoo, and the people who are competing with him are all sort of ganging up to him. I don't know why YouTube recommended this, but I'm glad they did. And so then this happened.
I'm fine.
It's not about what they're happy with. It's about what the judges are happy
Listen,
with.
dude, I'm done with it.
Dude, you've been
Listen, dude.
done.
I'm still here.
For what? Why? Because you just want to be a asshole.
You're right.
Then why the would you be in this competition,
I'm here.
bone face?
Why do you look 50 and you're 24?
What? Face,
Why do you look 50 and you're 24?
What? What did you say? Go yourself, you piece of poor excuse for a tattooer. We're talking about
He's a poor excuse for a tattooer. I don't know what the show is. I'm not going to watch it, but that's pretty hilarious. So Amazon, in its brilliance and its stranglehold on the American economy, decided that they're going to put a new TV series together called A League of Their Own, based in the movie of the same name, No Crying in Baseball.
There's another one on Tuesday.
Tuesday's too late, sir.
Do not approach the train.
Let it happen.
She's getting rid of her luggage. Let it happen, she said. Just let it happen. Like if a man said that to a woman, this was a man, this was a woman, this was a man, and the man jumped on the train and said to the woman, let it happen, and then stuck his face right here, it would be considered a crime, right? Just saying. She's the Rosie O'Donnell character.
We're here for the tryouts.
I don't think you understand. This is the All-American League.
We're pretty all-American. Who was that?
Okay, so I completed this video and I uploaded it to YouTube, and then I got a copyright notification. It's not a copyright strike. They barely ever do that anymore. But it is a copyright from Amazon about this stupid TV show, right? Now, Netflix, the brainiacs at both Netflix and Amazon, whenever I do one of these or anybody does anything like this, where they show a trailer, they copyright it, where you're giving them free advertising, right? So my video, this video, get anywhere between, I don't know, like 6,000 to 10 or 11,000 views. Maybe more, over a period of time. So all those people will see this. Even if I'm mocking it, even if I'm making fun of it, there'll be a number of people, maybe 50, maybe 100, maybe 20, who knows? Anything's better than zero, right? And so they've discouraged me from making trailer videos and other people, which is unbelievably stupid. It's free advertising, right? Put your trailers out there and hope that people make videos about it and talk about it because it raises the awareness of your crappy show. And what this show is, and you're going to, hear me say it in a moment, but there are all these shows now that have marginalized protagonists that are from so-called marginalized groups. And in every one of these movies, they point out all the time about how they're being oppressed, right? Whatever group it is, how, they're being treated unfairly by the powers that be. And yet they have a platform, I guess it's in so many TV shows and movies, you see it constantly now. There are groups, oftentimes it's women, and the women are the protagonists in the movie. They're showing over and over again how much rougher it is for them. Now, I personally, it would be considered, at least if you thought it through, you would say, oh, those seem to be like marginalized groups. I'm a dyslexic, for one, so I'm a person who has a different learning style, and an introvert. So that's, introverted people are 25% of the population. Dyslexics are about 20, which is quite interesting because that's quite a spectrum. I would think it was much less than that. And then, of course, being a truther, somebody who disagrees with the mainstream narratives, is a very marginalized group, right? A very prejudiced against, a very targeted group, right? A group of people that are constantly being demeaned and prejudiced against. There's algorithms that are out there just to keep people like us from expressing ourselves. And so this is a group by choice that is being marginalized by the powers that be. And even within that group, a fringe group, I'm a fringe population. I'm a different sort of a truther, different type of person with a different view than most other truthers. And then, of course, doing the heartfulness meditation, which is a fringe group, where I'm as fringe as you could be in that group, right? And so I'm constantly hearing people disagree and tell me my belief system is wrong. Even if they're not even saying it in those words, you just turn on the news, you turn on any mainstream, or you look at any mainstream media outlet or any of these things, and they're constantly saying things that I fundamentally disagree with in terms of the way I see the world, right? And if I made a movie about my life, there would be no part of it where I'd be talking about that in some way, where I'd be making myself a victim, right? I mean, if I was to write a movie about that, something like this, my life or something, which will never happen, but if I did, there would be no part of it where it would be complaining about how hard it is for me, right? Because everybody is in a sort of marginalized place in one way or another. there's some part of their personality they don't get to express or share. Maybe it has to do with their family, their religion, or their lack of religion, or whatever it is. Like everybody feels left out, alone, isolated, not like everybody else. I mean, this is very common type of feelings that people have, at least in some area or some time period of their life. And I could see one movie or one TV show, or just occasionally one about how women were discriminated against or how men are taking advantage of women. I mean, things that are true. I'm not saying they're not true. That doesn't exist, right? That men are hard on women in various ways. The system is. But, people don't understand what it's like to be a man, right? Women don't understand what it's like to be a man and what kind of, difficult women there are that are out there. Men are physically stronger and can physically abuse women. But women are great at, ripping a man's heart out, right? Like some of them. I bet pretty much every man listening to this has had that experience at least once in their life of some woman ripping his heart out or stepping on his heart or whatever it is. I mean, these things happen. There's ways that women are brutal on men, and maybe in the overall economic system and things, men have more power. But there's ways that other groups that are more marginalized have power in different areas, right? Like if you went into, let's say, the modeling industry or the fashion industry, where men don't have a lot of power, a lot of say, at least straight men, right? So, these movies that are constantly talking about how these groups are oppressed, and it has the opposite effect, right? You end up you feel resentful towards them. Like a good example of how it can work effectively is my wife and I watched that movie. Is it called The Green Book? Yeah, The Green Book. And, there's an Italian driver and an African-American pianist, famous, pianist. And the Italian driver is driving them around. They're kind of learning about each other and their culture and becoming friends. And there's this thing that's a green book, and it is a book that, for if black people to stay in hotels. There are certain hotels they can stay in. And we were watching it, and it was very subtle, but it made you feel empathetic, right? Like that's effed up, that they were, this is a time period too that taking you back to I think the 60s or 50s or something, maybe before it, I don't know. It's a, older time period, but understanding that based in people's color, they couldn't stay in every hotel, right? There were certain places, just the segregation they had to live with, and and the idea that they're constantly being told they're less than, and that's was an effective way, very subtle, made you feel just kind of empathizing, even for people who, people of color who don't have that level. It's something that they might be aware of more, but they don't have that now. They can stay in pretty much any hotel, right? With the exclusivity. So it was a good way of doing it because it was subtle. I remember feeling, wow, that's effed up, right? It just, it left an impression in me about, something that is true that happened and, I didn't know about, and, it made me feel empathetic. But you see these other TV shows that just so heavy-handedly try to push this point of view of victimization, how, all these people have, all these different groups have a horrible time, and it just seems like complaining. And I think probably the groups, all these different various marginalized groups, end up feeling resentful towards each other, right? Oh, we have it worse than you, or you, all these things. I mean, it's, we understand the point of view. We understand that some of this is historic, some of it is, definitely factual, some of it is more exaggerated, or some of it is there's a lack of understanding how everybody has it rough in one way or another. The life on Earth is difficult because people suck, right? But anyways, I say this again because I'm editing this now in post-op, and I've had to, edit out a big chunk of this trailer because Amazon's stupid.
No smoking or drinking.
Those women don't follow the rules.
No pants.
What?
Aim to be more exciting, shorten the skirts. The hell are you doing?
I thought that you would catch it.
My back turned?
This is our one shot.
That's her one shot, Rosie O'Donnell wannabe.
So what if right here, right now, we forget the rules?
See, they can't make something now, especially these streaming shows on Hulu and Netflix and Amazon Prime, all these, these liberal companies, without making some sort of social commentary. It's contrived and it's not being honest, because now we see pretty much the reversal of what Hollywood used to be about. Almost every movie, a celebrated movie, certainly the rewarded movies, most movies and TV shows include progressive, woke culture things in them. Feminism's a big part of it, right? There's so many movies now that women are protagonists, and so women are directing and writing films and are more often the protagonists, more often the strong characters in shows, including action movies, right? Including superhero movies and things. Women heroes are the stronger ones, the ones who have the best, lines, the best characters, best character arc. And so since that's happened, then there's no reason to include the constant stream of narratives about how men are keeping you down, right? That isn't the case anymore. Like you're getting the opportunity to write your own movies and make your own TV shows based in your demographic. And the majority of these shows and movies are just rehashed old stuff that used to star men or white men, right? And now they're just rewriting the shows and changing the demographics with one twist, and that is they whine about how men are keeping them down, right? So that's not right. That's not progress. Make something different. Make something unique. Make something that's a reflection of who you are in terms of your differences that you keep on pointing out, instead of just making it about how you never get a chance when you're actually getting a chance, right? You're getting a voice. You're getting a platform. So use that to make something artistic and unique and new.
They don't get to decide if this is real or not.
They don't get to decide. They do.
Let's go!
Things changing pretty fast.
Hey, Dollface.
Boom. She just grabbed it. New series, August 12th. They took this movie that was not that great, and they're stretching it over a whole season of TV because they're Amazon and they have money and they don't care if nobody watches. So I had just one more thing to say about this FBI investigation of Trump. I already said it. I want to re-say it a different way. So you understand when things are rigged, when, different media can rig things, and, there's various ways to rig something, to fix it, to make it, to have an inorganic, unnatural outcome where it's manipulated and it's conspired and it's all these things. And when the intelligence community is blatantly caught, in this case, they're blatantly caught, but they're not really caught because they can pretend that they're doing this for reals. But when the outcome of their actions is to rig an election, right? So when they investigate Trump, even though it looks like they're doing him a disservice, they're not going to press charges against him. He's not going to go to jail. And so if nothing comes out of them going to his house, then the big takeaway is that this is a big win for Trump and a big loss for DeSantis. And that's the FBI. Like the FBI is interfering with, and that's what intelligence communities do, but they're supposed to do it for other countries. But they're interfering with the organic outcome. And they tried to do this before. Like they withheld an investigation against Hunter Biden and didn't make it public when his laptop was handed over to them, and it had all these things that would warrant an investigation, but they waited till after the election, and then even then they've kept it out of the media, and the media has helped with that, right? So that's rigging the outcome of a political process, because there's no way they could make a case for Jojo Magoo winning if the Hunter Biden stuff came out before the election, right before the election. And it would have, like it should have. And so now they're doing the same thing for Trump, at least for now, and that's just effed up. Like, when the FBI starts picking winners and losers, and again, they always do. I mean, every powerful agency is corporations, wealthy people, billionaires, trillionaires, and all these things. all the governmental organization, the media, they all want to handpick their candidates. But more and more, it's becoming just Democrats, right? The powers that be are more and more behind the Democrats, and even though the Republicans are just as much of a puppet party, they're not getting the kind of love and backing they once had. They used to have the majority of it. The Democrats were the outsiders, but now that's been reversed. But anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely pointing for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.